today we're going to be talking about conversations worth having. And what is amazing to me was the daily word today about listening. It all seems to come together. So what are conversations worth having? Did you know that 90 to 95% of the time you are in conversation during your waking hours? Now, when I heard that statistic, I thought, that seems really high, don't you think? Yeah. But I did forget one person that I have a conversation with. Facebook viewers, who do you think that person is that we're having a conversation with? Yourself. How many of you think you're probably having a conversation with yourself 90 to 95% of the time if it's not with someone else? Yeah. And some of the times those conversations can be a little bit negative, can't they? Yeah. So I want to just do a brief exercise with you. So everyone, just take a minute and bring into your mind some concern, some worry, something that you might be a little tense about. Okay? Facebook viewers. And now, what's your body feel like when you're tense, when you're worried? What's coming? Is your neck tightening? Is your jaw, is it just uncomfortable? Yeah. Now, let's change that. And we're just going to say an affirmative prayer. We're going to say, I see the wholeness and the health and the wonder of myself. And I know that this problem, this situation, this concern is gone right here and now. What's that feel like? Feels good, yeah. Your heart rate probably goes down. It probably goes up when you're in worry, and it goes down. Because your brain doesn't know the difference of what is physically happening and what our conversation is in our head. So we can literally change that. Our conversations are incredibly important, aren't they? And the words we use. In a daily word, it talked about the words we use. Those are incredibly important. Here is a definition of the word from Revealing Word by Charles Fillmore. And I have taken some liberties with the definition. The agency which God reveals who she is in some measure to all, but to a greater degree to the highly developed souls. The thought of God, or the sum total of God's creative power. What this is saying to me is, yes, our words are important. And even more importantly is as we grow spiritually, our conversations are actually manifesting our affirmative prayers. Have you, as you've grown spiritually, seen your prayers manifesting faster and faster in our human time? And so that is the importance of our words and our conversation, especially for all of you out there that are growing and growing in our spiritual context. I've been reading this book, Appreciative Inquiry, and for the last few weeks. And what this book is about is actually change management. Okay, big companies have used this approach at looking at how to manage your company and manage the policies. And what it does is it focuses on what is going right. So instead of coming in a business setting and looking at what is the problem and how we can solve it, it takes a look at what is going right. I want to tell you, Visa, the CEO, Dee Hock of Visa, used it. He used it for 850 centers in 150 countries. And through this, they developed a guiding principle, one guiding principle. Now, How many of you have ever been where you're working on a vision statement or a mission statement or a goal statement or any type of statement, and you've tried to agree on one statement? It's pretty difficult, isn't it? And he has taken this many, 150 countries, 850 areas of this company. And I want to read you their guiding principle. Any individual or organization in this global system can do anything it wants, at any scale, and in any manner, as long as it advances our shared purposes and principles. Well, can you see how profound that is? He is giving leadership to every single person out there. This is pretty profound. And can you imagine, he's giving them the authority to make changes within all of Visa. So again, this change management is looking at what is going right instead of what is the problem. I want to tell you another story, and this is in a medical center. And the director has had high patient dissatisfaction reports. They've been coming in. Of course, they want to change it. And so instead of looking at it, how can we have this problem, how can we fix it? What she did was she sent out a memo, and she said, what areas, bring me your stories and bring me your experiences where we have had high patient satisfaction. Okay? And so all of these employees come in and they start telling her about where there is high patient experiences. And what they found from that was that a lot of those experiences could be replicated. And so this made a huge difference to their bottom line. It increased their patient experience level in all areas of the company. And Visa used it. We have, British Airways, Verizon, many, many large companies have used this appreciative inquiry technique. And we're bringing it here now so that we can use it as part of living relevant spirituality now. I want to tell you how I found this book. And it was through a book called The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. And the reason I'm mentioning The Soul of Money, because this book has probably been one of the biggest life changers for me. I read this book a few years back, and literally through circumstances, coincidences, that is why I am a minister now here, because of this one book, Soul of Money. And so a few weeks back, I was looking at this book, and that's why I came through to the book Appreciative Inquiry. And I always feel like when the student is ready, the teacher will come. And so we live in worlds our conversations create. We live in worlds our conversations create. And what kind of world are you creating? What kind of world? Sometimes we might live in worlds that the conversations are a little bit negative, okay? And I'm going to give you an example of a conversation that two people are having. Of course, I would never be one of those two, but so a wife is talking to her husband, and she's like, we never get to spend any quality time together. All we do is we watch TV. We never get to do anything fun anymore. What world is that creating? Yeah. Versus if we change it, we reframe it. How does this look like? Wow, I really love the times we spend together. I really enjoyed that picnic we went on. We should do more fun things like that. That's creating a different world, isn't it? Yep, yes. Anytime we look at the best, what do we find? We find the best. And that's what this appreciative inquiry is about. It's reframing, it's refocusing. Here's a quote from Mark Nepo of Exquisite Risk. If you don't know the kind of person I am, and I don't know the kind of person you are, a pattern that others made may prevail in the world, and following the wrong God home, we may miss our star. So what is the pattern that others made? What is the pattern that is happening sometimes? Especially when we look at the news. Okay, yeah. Yeah, the pattern in the news is negative. And it runs all facets of our communication. Well, why is it negative on the news? Why is it negative? What do you guys think? Why do you think it's negative? I know you know this answer. Draws attention. More interesting. And then negative news sells, doesn't it? Much more than positive news. And so these stories, these negative stories, run all facets. And so how do we change that? How do we change that? And you see this negativity running through sometimes our Facebook and our text and our emails, that negativity, okay? And how can we change that? One of the things I've always told our daughters is, anytime you write something, anytime you post something on Facebook that might have a negative connotation, whoever is receiving it, it's almost like they are being shouted at with it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's not coming across lightly, it's coming across as a big old shout. And also, I feel that sometimes what is posted or sent through email or electronic devices, we may not say if we were in person with that person right there. Or it might have a much lighter touch. Don't you agree? Yes, yes. And so, I want to give you a question that's a lot more fun. And here's the question. What's the best thing that has happened to you today? What's the best thing out there, Facebook? What's the best thing that's happened? Let me hear some answers. Woke up. That's always A1. Anything?
I got to sing with my friend Patty.
Got to sing with her friend Patty. Yes, yeah. It might be a nice cup of coffee. It's still pretty early, isn't it? It's having all of you here. That's the best thing that's happened.
And I'm here.
And you're here. Yes, yeah, you're here in our spiritual center. So those are some great answers to the questions. What's the best thing that has happened to you today? And I would invite all of you to use that question. Ask that question to strangers. Ask that question to loved ones. Ask that question anytime. That's a conversation worth having, isn't it? And I've had some questions that I have asked a few people in the last few weeks. And I want to share these questions with you. And I also want to invite all of you here, everyone on Facebook, to answer the question. Can we see the next? Can you flip the next? Thanks. To answer these questions, not right this minute, but at a later time. If you would like to send your answers into info@Unity Bay Area Houston, if you'd like to call our church office and leave a message, and I will call you back and have a conversation about the answers to these questions, I would love that. And if you're not a member or you haven't been a member of Unity Bay Area Houston for enough time to answer these questions, then take the question and make it into whatever situation. It might be your work, your family. But I would just love to hear the answers to these questions. And so the first question is, describe a time at Unity Bay Area Houston that you consider a high point experience. A time that you were most engaged and felt alive and vibrant. And our second question is, without being modest, tell me what it is that you value most about yourself and your contribution at Unity Bay Area Houston. The third question, what are the core factors that you feel give life to Unity Bay Area Houston when it is at its best? And then our last question. Imagine Unity Bay Area Houston 10 years from now, when everything is just as you always wanted it to be. What is different, and how have you contributed to its growth? Okay. So those are 4 questions. And again, if you haven't been a member or these don't apply, put in your work situation, your family situation. I would just love to hear the answers to these questions. And I wanted to tell you, I've asked a few people these questions, and I wanted to share some of the answers to them. When I asked Jackie Lawson what she valued about herself and her contribution to Unity Bay Area Houston, she told me she valued her authenticity. And I really love this quote about authenticity. This quote about authenticity. It is a tender bridge between our innermost being and the common life of all beings. So I feel that Jackie is very authentic, because when we are authentic, what we are doing is our higher self is talking. Our higher self is talking to other human beings and other souls. And we are all listening. I asked a question to our wonderful Ellen Rogers, who's here with us. And what the question was, what are the core factors that you feel give life to Unity when it is at its best? And this was her answer. The core factors at Unity Bay Area Houston is I'm grateful for a community of souls, a family of humans. I am grateful to support this family. It is a ministry and a community of love. Yes, yes. And she's wonderful in her support. And I'm grateful also to support this community and this family of love. Now I want to tell you about the last story and the last question. Describe a time at Unity Bay Area Houston that you consider a high point experience, a time when you were most engaged and felt alive and vibrant. And I'm gonna, you'll probably recognize the person in this story. But she talked about the building of the labyrinth. And who are we talking about? Miss Sarah Thompson, yes, yes. So she talked about the building of the labyrinth and what a joyful occasion, how she felt, and we can feel it right now, how she felt alive and how it was a vibrant occasion when it all came together. Okay. She also, though, told me a little bit about how it got built. And you know, it was a little difficult, wasn't it? Yeah. She at times worried maybe a little bit, is it going to get built? Are we going to run out of money? Are we going to run out of resources? I understood that it was very labor intensive, laying those bricks out. And yeah. And so what she did was she did what any good Unity person would do. What did she do? She prayed. She prayed affirmatively. And she also asked her dad to help her out here. And her dad had transitioned many years back. So she prays affirmatively, and then she also asked her dad, who had transitioned, to come help me out here. Okay. And she also used our 5th principle. She moved her feet. She moved her feet. She went into action. And she said, hey, we've got a lot of labor here. So I'm going to go hire some laborers, some day laborers to come help me with this labyrinth. And so she gets them, and they hop into her truck, and she turns to them and she says, "Oh, what is your name?" And the first person says, "Jose." Okay. And then she asks the second person, "What is your name?" And the second person says, "Castillo." Now this is the tender part of it. What was her father's name? Jose Castillo. Jose Castillo. I hope I'm telling the story right. Yeah, that was the tender part. That was an amazing, amazing story. That she was praying affirmatively, and her dad stepped right in, didn't he, and helped her out. And I always said that coincidences are God's wink, okay, that we're on the right track. I think this story was God having a talk with her, And so I'd like to just acknowledge Sarah and any of you out there who have at all contributed to this wonderful labyrinth. Would you stand up, raise your hand? Out there, stand up. Yes, yes. I mean, yeah. It's great. And any of you that aren't standing and that have ever given money to Unity, you have contributed to the labyrinth. Yes. And so the question is, what do you want to listen to? What kind of conversations do you want? You can have conversations that are appreciative. You can have conversations with your partner, your friend, that appreciate them. You can have appreciative conversations with your minister, your spiritual center. And the most important person to have an appreciative conversation with is whom? Yourself. Yourself. Have that appreciative conversation with yourself. Remind yourself what all you do good. Remind yourself of that positive energy that you have, that God energy that goes out just through your being. When you are having a conversation about loving yourself, you are having a conversation with God. And that is a conversation worth having. Thank you.